Hi, this is our group chapter 3 and chapter 4 summary. First, let's get started with chapter 3, analyzing the marketing environment. This is our group presentation outlined. Now, let's get started with microeconomic and macroeconomic with Wang.
Starting with the microenvironment. In simple terms, microenvironments include all the key actors close to the company that affect its ability to create value for and relationship with consumers. Some of the key actors here we're talking about include, first, the company itself. Well, it's pretty obvious because as a marketer, you'll need to work with the human resource department, you'll need to work with the accountants to pick the right people to get the money, right? So lots of things involved during the process. Next, we have the suppliers, the place where you get all the materials, all the equipment, and if something bad happens to the supply, well, good luck, because chances are you're not going to have product to sell, and that's going to create a pretty bad consumer experience. You're not going to be happy about it, but the competitors is going to be really happy about it. So why do we need to care about competitors? Because one job of a marketer is to position its offerings above other company offerings in the consumer's mind. So let's say if Nike reach out to Ronaldo, then Adidas is going to be like, well, we need to do something about this. So they find Messi, right? It's a century-old example, it still works. Okay, next we're going to talk about the marketing intermediaries, which are basically the sides that help the company to promote, sell, and distribute goods. We are talking about the resellers, the physical distribution firms, or logistics services, the marketing agency, the marketing service agencies, and finally the financial intermediaries, which make sure that you get the money and the consumers do not get scammed. It's good for both sides. From the intermediaries, we're going to have the publics. So publics are groups of people that have a potential impact on an organization's ability to achieve its objectives. Yeah, it's really broad. We're just going to take a look at some examples. As you're seeing right now, we have the financial publics, including the banks, the stockholders, basically people who can ask for money. We have the media publics, the televisions, the newspapers, magazines, you name it. The government is really important here because marketing strategies still need to follow certain rules and regulations. This is especially true if, let's say, you work for a cigarettes company, right? You need to pay attention to these rules. Moving on, some of the smaller groups like the citizen action publics, consumer organizations, minorities, etc. The internal publics, people working in the company. The general publics, people working outside the company. And finally, the local communities. So why do we need to learn about all of these publics at all? Well, because it's really hard to satisfy all these real people. But what you can do instead is design a marketing strategy that targets specific publics to yield certain results. That's pretty nice to hear. Last but not least, it's going to be the customers. It is probably the most important actor when it comes to microenvironment. So the customers can be found in 5 different kind of markets, starting with the consumer market, consists of individuals like you and me. We have the business market, the government market. Government does need to buy equipment and services, so yeah. Resellers market, and finally international market or overseas market. So yeah, that's all we need to know about the microenvironment, and that brings us to the next part, the macro environment. So macroenvironment basically consists of broader forces that affect the actors in the microenvironment. There are 6 of these forces, and we're going to start with demographic.
Presents the demographic environment. So the first and the very important demographic trend in the US is the changing age structure of the populations. So that means the population of the US now is getting older, and that happens because of the healthcare innovations, since it's keep the elderly live longer, and the educated couples nowadays refuse to give birth and focusing on their career instead. So next we will be discussing about the components in the demographic environment. So first is the boomers. They was born from 1946 to 1964. So like they were born right after World War II, and in order to recover the damage of the war. So they account for half of the consumer spending in the US. And contrary to norms, one recent survey found that 82% of boomers are open to new things, which means they open to new brands, fashion trends, and internet also. So the next generation is the Generation X. So they are like the main workforce of today's world, and they put in nearly 30% of the US total incomes. So as for the Generation Xers, they prefer their families to their career. That's why they are sensible shoppers who research product heavily before they consider a purchase, since they buy it not just for themselves but to their loved one. And next is the generation. So they are large in numbers. However, the purchasing power is not as good as, since they have to deal with debts and a lot of economic crisis. However, they engaging with firms using internet, which is kind of an innovation, and prefer opportunities to shape their own brand experience. The Generation Z have a huge spending power, since they spend 44 billion of their own money and influence up to 600 billion of family spending annually. So the major of them are still kids and teenagers, so they have to depend on their parent a lot. So the Generation Z is an expert in social media using. So social media plays a crucial marketing role as they use them to research goods and services. The next thing is the generation marketing. So the marketers believe that there must be separate products and marketing programs for each generation, and even in more specific, they separate the different ages in each generations. However, the other criteria like lifestyle and demands should also be concerned. The next thing is the changing American family. So the non-traditional household is rapidly growing, which include the same-sex couple household, interracial and inter-ethnic households, and dual-income household. It's important because different kind of household have different needs, such as back then the marketers often focusing on the husband since they are the main income, but now with dual-income household, they have to also focusing to the wife and give suitable programs for them. So the geographies and populations will have 2 major trends, which is more Americans moving toward the center state and more Americans moving to micropolitan areas. So people in different locations buy different things, sex, code, and cold resistance equipment as an example. So the North will have a much higher needs if compared to the Southern people. So the next thing is people nowadays are getting better educated. So it affects how people buy and what they buy. So for instance, the Americans who have very educated will focus on their health also. So that means they will reducing fast food and choose organic vegetables instead. And next thing is the diversity. So the US ethnic populations are exploding, and marketing has to face with diverse market, include LGBT communities and adults with disabilities. So take adults with disability as an example. So like when they are travel, when they use service, they must have a assistant and a companion in order to help them with their disabilities. So which making a huge lucrative market for business. And next we will talk about economic environments. So basically, the economic environment consists of economic factors will affect the consumer purchase power and the spending pattern. So for instance, the Great Recessions in 2007. So huge layoff and pay cut off and debts, high interest. So that's make people not aware of the luxury brand anymore, but focusing on their basic needs like water and food. But however, marketers can forecast the trends for observations in order to keep their life.
Okay, so the next part of the macro environment is the natural environment. What is natural environment? Natural environment is our surrounding environment, which includes all the things that exist in the nature, and it also provides several benefits for humans, such as having a wide range of resources for manufacturing. You can easily see that trees and the forest provide wood for the furniture industry. However, the natural environment also poses several challenges that may affect the business and their activities. So take bakeries and cake decorator as an example. They have to suffer from heat and humidity, since those are the main factors that can destroy the icing and decoration of the cakes. Yeah, like climate and natural disaster, they are natural phenomena and we cannot prevent their occurrences. So I think that firm and business should have a well-prepared solution or method for dealing with them. And nowadays there are some current trends in the natural environment. First of all is the scarcity of the resources, such as oil, coal, and some other minerals. It has made a big challenge for some firms, since there are many firms that need these scarce resources for producing, and they will face a large cost in production. Secondly, is the increase in pollution because of some disposal from industry, for example, like chemical and nuclear waste. Yeah, and I think the last trend in the natural environment is increase in government intervention. Yeah, so I think government should have the strong efforts to promote a clean environment for our society. Yeah, and now we will go into the environmental sustainability, as the ability to maintain an ecological balance, last forever in our planet's natural environment and conserve natural resources. So nowadays business should develop strategy that support environmental sustainability. Okay, so the next one is the technological environment, which is the most powerful force to change the market trends, and it also helps to create new products, new markets, and new opportunities for business and sellers. However, along with those benefits, there are still some drawbacks. Like, first of all, uncertainty is the uncertainty in the safety level of the product. Like, a button battery cells, it is a small battery using some remote control. However, in a family with lots of children, that battery is a very dangerous thing, since they can get stuck in the children's throats, where they can cause some serious chemical burns. And yeah, the next drawback is without catching up the newest technology, some business may face a decline in the sale or maybe being eliminated from the market. For example, the appearance of ebooks have made the market trade change a lot, as well as develop a new opportunity for bookstore and book sellers, since they can also sell and produce ebooks along with selling traditional books. However, it will cause a big problem to the book manufacturing industry. Now we will go into the political and cultural environments. So political environment is the type of environment consisting of laws, regulation, authorities, and government agencies. So everybody acknowledge that we must have laws to keep the world safety, and yeah, it's the same to business. So there are also some regulation on business. So the first one is protect companies from each other and protect customer from unfair business practice. The last one is protect the interests of the society against the restrained business behavior. Yeah, and about the cultural environment. Cultural environment is the behaviors, norms, and values that people use to understand and explain their physical and social environments. So there are two types of cultural values. The first one is core beliefs and values. So they are the root belief that a person or organization have. Like, it is also likely to pass from one generation to another generation. And the second value is the secondary values. This kind of value are less permanent values that can be changed or be influenced by external factors. So yeah, and we can see that secondary values are easier to change than the core values. And according to these cultural characteristics, it will have some different impact on the marketing decision making.
Okay, now that we know about different types of environments in marketing, now it's my turn to talk about different approaches that company adopt to deal with these uncontrollable events. So there are two types. One is proactive and the other is reactive. Reactive means that the company will wait for that events to happen and they'll try to come up with a strategy to survive. And on the other hand, proactive means that they prepare beforehand. They might or might not know that something bad's going to happen, but at least when that thing happened, they want to take action right away and come up with strategy that's somewhat called to conquer that uncontrollable event. So it means that in most circumstances, businesses should adopt the proactive approach, since it's obviously much better, right, to prepare than to just let it happen and adopt and suffer the worst out of it. But however, there are uncontrollable events out there that are truly, truly uncontrollable, that are like population shift, economic, major cultural values. For example, the recession right now, it's a very difficult thing for many countries as well as companies around the world. And there are also like protests and strike. For example, in the US, it happened quite a lot. And right now, there are a few strikes that's going around and that's really affect companies. And after this, I'm going to talk about two examples. One is business related and the other is non-business related. Let's start with the non-business related first. So a very clear example of being proactive in something is like getting vaccinated. So it's obvious that if you get vaccinated, you might be immune from it, you might not get the disease, or if you even like eventually get it, you'll suffer milder symptoms. And for the business related example, I'm going to talk about Apple. So that company, an uncontrollable event happened to this company in 2011 when Steve Jobs, the visionary leader, died. And even though they kind of like knew that Steve Jobs had cancer and he eventually passed away, but they didn't like fear and like wait around until that thing happened and then just adapt to it. I feel like they have clear plan to release new products and services even when the visionary leader died. And that's what Apple did, and they still survived. I mean, not survived, they are still thriving and growing very well, and they're very successful still nowadays.